Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a couple dinners that I made this week. I love cooking with my Instant Pot and I'm always on the hunt for new recipes, and I found this Instant Pot Mississippi pot roast. It's so easy to make and it was so delicious. We loved it. I of course will have all of these links for the recipes in my description, so you can just click the link and it'll take you straight to the site. I turned my pot onto saute mode, let my olive oil heat up, and then I put the meat in it and cooked it for 5 minutes just to brown it. You don't want to overcook it because you're going to pressure cook it later on. Right here I was cutting up potatoes because I did make some homemade mashed potatoes as well. I think it goes perfect with roast. I always love to eat potatoes with roast. And then once that meat was browned for 5 minutes, I went ahead and I took it out and I just placed it in a bowl and kept that warm. And then I needed to deglaze the pot, so I cut up the onion and I added a little bit of the beef broth and the onion in there, and I just mixed it all up and got all those brown bits out of the bottom of the pot. Once you scrape all of those bits out and it's all kind of mixed in with that broth, you add the rest of the ingredients: the pepperoncinis, their juice, the ranch and the gravy packet, more beef broth, and then of course butter. And then you're just going to add that meat back to the pot, close the lid, and set the steam release knob to the sealing position. And depending on your meat, it's going to change how long you need to cook it. But since I already had this meat that was cubed up, I normally cook this on manual high pressure for 25 minutes, and then I do a natural release for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, my potatoes are boiling for around 15 minutes. That's usually how long potatoes take to cook if you cut them up into small pieces. So I drained those, I threw them into a big bowl, and then I use my handheld mixer. I always use this to mix up potatoes. It mashes them up perfectly. And for mashed potatoes, I always add milk, butter, salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder, and they always turn out so good. Like I said, I cooked it for 25 minutes on high pressure and let it do a natural release, which is basically where you don't turn the knob to let the steam out. You let the steam come out slowly for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you let the rest of that steam out. It's really important, if your recipe says to do a natural release, to actually do a natural release, because your meat is still cooking and you definitely do not want raw meat when you open your pot up. There's several different ways you can thicken up a gravy, but this recipe said to use flour and softened butter, so that is what I did. I just mixed the flour and the butter together. And before I thicken up the gravy, I take out all of the pieces of the stew. So the carrots, the meat. Oh, I added carrots and I forgot to show that, and I just last minute was like, oh my gosh, I wanted carrots. It's not part of the recipe, but it's stew. You can add whatever the heck you want into it. So I did add baby carrots. You just want to take them out because your gravy will be not that great if you're trying to mix it together with food. You just want it to be the liquids in there. Bring that liquid to a boil on saute mode, and then just take that butter and flour you mix together and drop it in there little bits at a time, and use a whisk or a fork. A whisk will work better, and constantly stir it while it boils. This will take a couple minutes, but it will get thicker, that nice thick gravy consistency, and then you can add the roast back into the pot. Here's the final result. It was so good, especially with the mashed potatoes and that gravy. So good, so filling, and it's so easy. This next one is veggie fajitas. You can do chicken, but I wanted to do veggie, so I have some zucchini, some onion, peppers, mushrooms, a couple different seasonings, and some white rice. I would have liked to have beans, black beans, to go with it too, but I didn't have any this day. I went ahead and started cooking my rice. I do not wash my rice. I know a lot of people do, and I'll probably get comments about it, but the temperature will kill any bacteria on it, so I really don't care. If it was raw, that'd be different. I went ahead and I cut up all of my veggies. That's pretty much what 90% of this recipe is just cutting up veggies and also throwing some seasoning on it. I do want to mention that you can buy a pack of fajita seasoning. It probably will taste better, but I didn't have it on hand, so I just made up my own combination of seasoning. I do wash my mushrooms because they have literal dirt on them, and I do wash all my veggies. Trust me, I can't wash rice. It just seems silly to me. Anyways, avocado oil, I spray it on the sheet with some aluminum foil, and then I add all of those veggies onto there and mix them up good, and then I will add all of that seasoning on top. Pop it into the oven at 400 degrees for around 15 minutes, and bam, you're done. Your rice is cooked, veggies are cooked. put them all together. I sometimes will put toppings on it like salsa, sour cream, whatever the heck you want to put on it. It's so good, so delicious, and it's so easy to make. This next one I have been making for years. It is one of my staple pastas. It is Cajun pasta. I used to make this with chicken, but you guys, I don't eat a lot of meat anymore, and I just try to replace it with veggies a lot. I like it better that way, and I think I've turned Patrick into liking veggies a lot better too. I decided to add zucchini to this because I didn't just want like a plain pasta. I wanted it to be a little bit more filling, and the zucchini turned out perfect. I probably will never cook this with chicken again. Chicken just gets gross after a couple bites. I don't know what it is, but chicken weirds me out sometimes. When I cook, I like to mix all the seasonings together first. It just makes way less of a mess. It's way less chaotic when cooking. If you just put all your seasonings that you're gonna need together, trust me, it will help you out a lot. I get a decent sized pot and put in some olive oil, butter, add in the zucchini, the onion, the seasoning, and then I cooked it for a good 10 minutes. I didn't want the zucchini to be overcooked. That's one thing about zucchini is it can get really mushy. And then I added in the fire roasted tomatoes and the chicken broth and the noodles, and I brought that to a boil, and I let that boil with a lid for about 10 to 12 minutes, however long it takes for the noodles to cook. Once it's done boiling, I cut up some chunks of the cream cheese and threw it in there. This just helps it melt and spread more evenly when you cut it into little chunks like this. The cream cheese just makes it so creamy. Look at how perfect that is. And then I got some fresh chives and basil from our garden. I've never put it on this pasta, but it does recommend using green onions to garnish. I just didn't have green onions, but you guys, the basil was so good. I couldn't really taste the chive, but the basil added so much more flavor to it. It was perfect. And then of course I sprinkled on some mozzarella cheese because that's all I had, that garnish, and you guys, it's so good. I could eat this pasta probably every day and not get sick of it. You have to try this, especially if you love spicy. This next one is a childhood favorite of mine. It is one of my favorite meals my grandma made growing up. She is Hungarian and Slovak, so she makes a lot of delicious meals like cabbage and noodles, chicken paprika, stuffed cabbage, and then this meal right here is sauerkraut potatoes and kielbasa sausage, and it's so easy. It's relatively cheap, but it is so delicious. I definitely want to try and make a lot of her recipes. I'm just nervous of messing them up and them not tasting the same, but this one, I made it for the first time like 2 months ago, and I was so happy. It tasted exactly like hers, so now I have a little more faith in myself that I can make the meals just like how she did. I got my big pot. I cut up the onion, the sausage, and the potatoes. I did smaller pieces because the potatoes are really the only thing that you're gonna need to cook in this, so I wanted them to cook faster. I add the tomato sauce, the sauerkraut. I did the entire jar because I love sauerkraut. I add some garlic powder, salt, and pepper, and then you're just gonna want to fill it with water, just enough to cover everything up in the pot. And then I put a lid on it, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer. Usually it's gonna take around 40 minutes for all the potatoes to fully cook. And once the potatoes are all cooked, it is finished. You guys, this is just such a yummy comfort meal, and it's such a great meal, especially for the cold weather coming up soon. So if you like cabbage and sauerkraut, definitely give this a try and let me know what you guys think, because it's one of my favorite childhood meals. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you try out any of these recipes, and I'll be sure to film more of these because I actually really enjoy filming these and sharing these recipes with you guys. So don't forget to subscribe, and thank you again for watching. Bye guys.